Hello and welcome. This is Nioh 3 for Dummies. And yes, I am making this video for the most pea-brain sized one brain cell of society here. Perhaps you've seen Nioh and you've wanted to get into the franchise and you're like, oh, it looks a little daunting. It's a little bit too hard for me. It's a Souls-like, but it looks cool. I want to check it out. I'm here to tell you that you definitely should check it out. Nioh 3 is absolutely the time to jump in right now. I would say that, some debate about it perhaps, but I think generally the consensus among the community is that Nioh 3 is like the absolute easiest of all the Niohs to get into. So I would say if there's a time to get into it, it is now. So I kind of want to just go over like really, really basic stuff with you here. And just let you know that it is absolutely within your ability to get into this game. Okay. So first and foremost, this game is an action RPG. A lot of your ability to be good at the game is going to be based on, how much practice you've put in, your reaction time, your patience with learning boss strategies and stuff, and you will improve at the game as it goes on and on and on. But if you just want to hop in and have fun, this game, more so than any, will allow you to do that. This game does have what they're calling an open field structure. So it does take some heavy cues from, I will say, Elden Ring, for example, where it does let you kind of just go out, explore the world, do random stuff. There's just a ton for you to explore and find and check out. And that will allow you to level up and get better gear and overcome the challenges that the game throws at you. There is also co-op in this game that works extremely well. So if you want to hop into some jolly cooperation, that is definitely going to be an option here for you as well. It gives you a lot of opportunities to build your proficiency at the game and play better and have a better understanding. I will say, when there's a tutorial section when you boot up the game, don't get overwhelmed by that. I think I've seen some comments from some people that I feel they are a bit put off by just kind of like, there's a lot of pop-ups and stuff at the beginning. Don't feel like you need to get super overly invested. To be honest with you, you can kind of just start running around and fighting enemies and get used to the controls. That's the first thing that I would say, is just feel out, how does the game feel? Figure out how you're attacking enemies, what's your basic move set, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be mostly what you're doing throughout most of this game, is you're going to be running through the world, attacking enemies and stuff like that. And it's just going to be getting familiar with the feeling of everything, right? So don't get overwhelmed by the tutorials. If you do need to go back to the tutorials, what you can do here is press start. This is your start menu. And it will bring up a whole whack of stuff. Again, don't get too absorbed in any of this. You can go ahead to the section called Amrita Memories. Your tutorial is right here, okay? And yeah, I would recommend, obviously, reading through this and stuff like that. But you don't need to get too obsessed with anything right off the bat. Like I say, just get a feel for the game. That being said, your basic moveset, okay? I am playing on an Xbox controller, so apologies. You'll have to translate this into your PlayStation controller or keyboard or whatever it is that you're using. But yeah, first and foremost, obviously, it's a 3D action game, so you have full, 360 mobility. Biggest difference with Nioh 3 is this time we have a dedicated jump button, and you can jump once, and you can jump twice. You can do a little double jump, okay? It doesn't send you up that high, but just something to keep in mind. Even in the early stages of the game, enemies might be like rolling giant spiked logs at you, for example, and you can just jump up and hop over those types of things. You can also jump off of enemies, kind of like you can if you've played Sekiro. It has exactly that, basically that same ability. I can show you that. We'll go take a look at an enemy down the hill in a moment here. If we take a look, you can see we've got a demon down here. There he is right there. So if you jump at him, you can literally jump off of him, do that kind of thing, okay? But we'll look at the combat here in a second. Of course, the other thing to get used to is just the feel of it. So in this case, you have a light attack. And Nioh's all about combos, fun combos. Here's my 4 times light attack combo. So in this case on Xbox, it's quadruple X. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. And you don't really have to press it in any specific, like, it doesn't have to be that tight. You can just mash it. Just mash your way through it. Okay. That's just my light attack combo. You have a heavy attack. In this case, it's Y on Xbox controller, but it's, you know, your top button. It's usually your left side button and your top button on your controller. Okay. I think on keyboard and mouse, it's like mouse 1, mouse 2 for light heavy attack. You can also attack in the air. There's literally entire builds you can make around being in the air and attacking in the air. So take advantage of that, because enemies will like do low sweeps and stuff like that, and you can just stay up in the air, use this kind of thing, right? Like this. So this is to be the first thing I'd say. Just get used to how this feels. Okay. And how your character feels. The other thing you have, of course, like any good Souls-like game, you do have a dash. And that's the other thing, I guess, is that if you're not aware, this is technically a Souls-like. It definitely borrows a lot of some of the core design philosophies. However, that being said, this game, in a lot of ways, is not a traditional Souls-like. And that's one of the most appealing things. This game is much more faster paced. It's much more frenetic. It has a Diablo-style loot-based system, which I find to just kind of be more engaging. It keeps you more invested in the loot. It really encourages you to experiment with different weapons, all that kind of stuff, okay? So, you know, it's not going to be like a Dark Souls game where you pick up a sword and then you literally use that sword for like the next 20 hours. Now, you might do that. You could do that if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that. And you probably will pick a specific type of weapon that maybe you gravitate towards too. In the beginning of the game, you will get kind of basically, you'll have 2 weapons. One will be for... well, so there is... I should back up here. So you have something also called Samurai Style and Ninja Style. This is the other thing that the game's going to throw at you right off the bat. So right now I'm in Ninja Style. Ninja Style is fast. It's meant to basically kind of be a barrage of damage against the enemy. It's high stagger ability. It's just your fast, frenetic, you know, a la like Wolverine style attacks, okay? So this is kind of the style that I've been playing around with a lot. However, you do have also what's called Samurai Style. So if you press R2, so in this case, I have a katana equipped. I also have a spear weapon. Eventually, you'll unlock the ability to actually hold up to 4 different weapons. So you'll be able to spec into those different styles, which is really nice because it will just open up variety. Play options. It makes things more fun, you know? That's what I say. It's like, you know, you're not going to equip one weapon and then you're stuck with it for the whole game. You get a bunch of varieties of weapons that you can play around with. But this is my Samurai Style. This is your more traditional style that previous Nioh games have been in here, where you actually switch between different stances. So I'll point this out here, and this might make a little more sense. But if you look in the bottom right-hand corner here, you'll see, and these will be abilities that you'll unlock. So right now I'm in high stance. So if I hold R1, I can switch my stance there. So you can see it. I've got the option of Y, X, A, and B is just to sheath your weapon if you just want to sheath. So let's say I go into low stance. So you can see here that this guy is highlighted now. So I held R1, I pressed A, I'm in low stance. And this is just like quick, fast, okay? Now I could do something, for example, like, let me highlight here for you. So I could switch now over to medium stance. More mid-range, a little bit slower, but still fairly quick. Totally changes up the moveset entirely, okay? And then lastly is our high stance, which is the one at the top here. So you can see there, and I'm holding my sword up. This one is your slow, heavy, methodical attacks, okay? Now, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but if you go to your start menu again, you'll figure this out as you're playing more and more. Here's all your weapons, okay? And you will be able to go through. So you have actually samurai and ninja. So these will just be like core abilities that you can just unlock. Samurai, I definitely recommend if you're interested in a samurai weapon, you want to unlock your stances as soon as possible, okay? So the core abilities of samurai are high stance, mid stance, low stance, and then your deflect, okay? And then in the case of what we were just looking at with the sword, so I've been using sword as one of my main weapons, and it just gives you a ton of abilities, right? We're not going to go through all of this. You'll have to look through it, figure it out. Look, I haven't unlocked this one yet. So I have a few points here I can use. I can unlock it. And then one other thing, too, that's really nice about this game, and this goes the same for your levels as well, you can reset your points at any time. So if you're like, ooh, I don't actually like the sword weapon, I want to try spear or whatever, you can actually reset all of your points and reallocate them anywhere else you want at any point in time. Okay? This game is very, very casual friendly compared to previous Nioh games and even just previous Soul games in general. Okay? So that's kind of your samurai there. Let's go back to ninja. So again, ninja's kind of my primary go-to here. This, again, I like the more faster, more aggressive style of play. Same kind of idea. So in the bottom right here, we have our actions. Now, I actually have to charge these up through combat. So let me show you here. So you, again, kind of just like your typical action game, you can lock onto an enemy. All right. You do have a crouch. If you crouch with, in this case on controller, it is L3. Hit L3. If you sneak up behind an enemy, you'll see a red target. And if you use a heavy attack, you will, in fact, do a sneak attack. That does significant amounts of damage. So you can see that I'm pretty high level for this area, so I can just, I just killed him instantly. But let me show you. I want to charge up a ninja ability here just to show you what I'm talking about here. So just bear with me. We'll go kill a couple enemies and I can show you specifically what I'm talking about here. And it will allow us essentially to use what are called ninjutsu abilities. And let's just find, here's a couple enemies right here. This should, okay. So again, look in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see I have now an option. So you'll see that they kind of builds up in gray, like the actual icon kind of fills up. Okay, you see that? How it filled up more on the bomb? So in this case, it's like, so I can use up to 3 bombs, for example, in this scenario. So if I hold R1, again, similar to the stances with the samurai style, I can then use whatever abilities. Well, we'll just take a look at the bomb. So in this case, it's R1 and X. And look at this. Chucked a bomb, killed them instantly. Okay? I don't want to get, again, down the rabbit hole with this stuff, but you will have so many options to play around with this stuff. My top ability, if I do hold R1 and press Y, it actually freezes the enemy for a few moments. See that? He's frozen. Okay. And I would just spend some time locking onto enemies, dodging around them, see how it feels. Ninja in particular does have an ability that rewards you for a perfect dodge. You also have something called a missed dodge. Let's see if we can get it here. I'm sorry, you have to attack for that one. I'll show you that in a second. So let's just back up here. Let's just back up here a little bit. And I'll show you specifically what I'm kind of getting at here. So let's go over here. So yeah, again, you can see my abilities are charging up here, right? So you'll have to play around with that. There is so many that you can choose from, though. You can, so if we go to customize martial arts, this is where you can get into all your build out, your load out, all that kind of stuff. And you have ninjutsu abilities. Okay, so if we look here, ninjutsu, you see that right there, and here is our ninjutsu abilities, and we can switch up to whatever we want. And look at how many I've unlocked here. Now you do have to, some of them you unlock just through exploring, unlocking your ninja tree, all that kind of stuff. So you'll have to go through here and play around with and see what you actually like and enjoy. I mean, there's so many things that you can combine and play around with and everything. So just, yeah, try it out, see how it feels. You'll find things that work for you or whatever. But highly recommend playing around with the ninja style if it's your first time, because it is kind of, I feel like it's the more beginner-friendly approach. If you go with samurai, you are going to have to manage these stances, which can be a bit overwhelming for a first-timer. And also, the samurai build, is focused on parries. It really benefits from being able to parry. Okay. Another thing that I'd like to show you here. This is just, again, this is really like, this is like Nioh 101 level stuff here. Let's find a demon. Okay, so let's take a look at this example here. So we've got some bigger enemies here. Actually, while we're here, if you hold down L2, you also do get bows, you get guns, and something that's really beneficial in this game. If you look here at my cursor, you can actually shoot enemies in the head. So if we look here, you can see my cursor right there, for example. Okay, you can see the middle is red. That's going to mean it's going to do a headshot on him. And in this scenario, it was able to kill him in one hit. That's hugely, hugely, hugely important, especially when you're trying to take out big, large camps of enemies. And, or you just want to like take out an enemy easily without investing a lot of like health or whatever. So let's engage with this enemy here. And I'll show you a little bit of samurai style here. Okay, so when an enemy does that, what you want to do is press R2. And what R2 will do is switch you between styles. And there is an option in the menu where you can actually turn that off. So if you just want to play samurai or you just want to play ninja, that's fine. You can actually switch that. Personally, I kind of like mixing up the two and switching between them. I think it'll get you more used to the vocabulary of the game. What I do want to show you is, I'd like to show you a yokai pool. If we can actually get it to cooperate with us here. Okay, so see this here? So this is a good example. It's going to be hard for him to kill us. So you can see there's a swirling black pool on the ground here. You see that? If you're standing in that, that means your stamina will not recharge. So, oh, it's gone now. So, but if you're standing in that black pool, you cannot recharge your stamina, okay? So you have a few options in how you can deal with that. Number one is to just not stand in it at all. Avoid it altogether. You can, if you're in samurai style, you can do what's called a ki pulse. So if you attack and you press R1 right afterwards, you'll have to figure out the timing of it. It can be a little tricky. That's, see how I'm glowing blue? That's my ki pulse. And you can eliminate those black pools. Okay, so you do want to do that. The other thing too is as you play the game more, you'll get abilities where you can just do dodges, and it will happen when you dodge. So I have an ability equipped that allows me to ki pulse upon dodging. So as I'm dodging out of the way of the enemies, the black pools will just naturally dissipate as I'm playing, or as I'm fighting the enemy, I should say. Okay. So that's just something I really want to point out. I really feel like that is just kind of like one of the most basic core tenets of Nioh, is to get rid of those black pools or avoid them altogether. If you're in ninja style, you don't actually have the option to key pulse. So you can't naturally get rid of those pools with a key pulse, but you can get, again, an ability eventually that when you attack, you actually get something called Mist, which quickly dodges you out of the way of the enemy and kind of like confuses them momentarily, which can be quite nice. So it's kind of a similar idea. So again, you have to attack, press R1. You can also move yourself in like whatever direction you want to move yourself in. You can see I'm just kind of jumping all around or whatever, right? You can also get an ability eventually that allows the mist ability for your ninja form to also get rid of those black pools, like a key pulse naturally would do for you. Okay. But yes, I really did want to point out the key pulsing section, because that is something you are going to have to get used to. You are going to have to master that. And again, samurai style, maybe a lot of you will want to play samurai because you get some of the bigger, heavier weapons or whatever. Attack, press R1. That's all it is. Attack, press R1. Okay. Couple other things, and then we'll wrap it up. And then if you have questions or anything, hit me up in the comments. Maybe I'll do more. It feels like there's just so much to talk about with this game. But this is meant to just be like literally like an intro into like how does the most basic mechanics work. Some really basic stuff here that we'll look at. Okay. Gray health bar here, right? This guy here. This one. That's your health, obviously. Okay. This item here is your elixirs. If we use an elixir, restores your health. Okay. Now you can hold up to 8. Enemies will naturally just drop elixirs. You also do get some unlocks as well at your save points. So in this game, you don't have bonfires like you do in a traditional Dark Souls game or something. You have what are called shrines, but they functionally act like a bonfire if you play Dark Souls. If you haven't played Dark Souls, let me just show you. We'll go back to the... so if you open your map, if you press select, you have a map that you can open up to. You can see all these little green guys here. This is your shrine. And let me show you the shrine here. And functionally, this is your save point, acts as a checkpoint, but you can also do like a million things in here, okay? This is where you level up, and you can do a bunch of other stuff, okay? So we won't get too down that rabbit hole. If you're interested, we can get into some more of the nitty-gritty, the weeds on that one. The other thing that you're going to want to keep in, so I pretty much just use elixirs. That's like really, other than that, I use a bunch of other like magic abilities and stuff like that you can equip. Again, you'll probably figure that out as you naturally play the game, but you do just get a lot of items in the game. So early on, if you're like wondering what you should attach onto your belt, you may want to look, for example, at something like Sacred Water. Okay, Sacred Water restores your stamina, or your ki is what they call it in this game. Okay. Your stamina is the blue bar. So again, if you've played Souls games, see, if I attack, my stamina goes down. I can also naturally restore some of my stamina. If I run out of stamina, it'll be on a little bit of a cooldown. Samurai actually recovers it pretty quick. I think Ninja's a little slower, actually. So yeah, just a little bit. Samurai actually has a natural... Like, you can see it fills up a lot quicker. It gets like a bonus ability. See that yellow line that kicked in there? So that fills up a lot quicker. Okay. You're probably wondering as well what this is. So this is your Guardian Spirit. You are going to get this very early on in the game. You can do... To start off with, you're going to be able to just do one ability with it. And so that is denoted by this here. And you can see it's fully charged up. If you want to use it, you hold L1. and you press X or Y depending on which ability you want to use. It's going to just give you one to start off with. So L1X. In this case, that's what this ability looks like. You're not going to start off with this one. You're going to start off with a different Guardian Spirit, so you'll have to play around with them with different moves and stuff. But that's essentially the reason it's lit up is because it's charged. So you can use that on an enemy. I can use this one like this. Pretty cool, right? For big damage, or it'll also knock enemies out of that like red glowing attack that they do. And then this here, you also notice this one fills up. Once that fills up, you can press two buttons together on Xbox controller. It is YB, so check your controller settings for whatever it is. Once that's charged, it'll put you into like basically like a Super Saiyan form, where you can't actually take any real damage. You'll still have a life bar that will show up, but you'll be able to just do a crap load of damage. You'll get like a speed bonus. You won't have health or ki or stamina that you'll have to manage. You'll have kind of like a timer on it that is either you'll run out of time on the meter or you'll get hit out of it by the enemy, and then the status will end. Okay? And to be honest with you, those tips alone will be enough to kind of carry you through pretty much the early stages of the game. And then my only recommendation is, just like many other Souls games, don't be afraid of big enemies. Just go get used to attacking, fighting, make sure you're picking up every item that you can, make sure that you're unlocking your abilities here. This is your martial arts and ninjutsu abilities. Make sure you're going in here, doing this. As you kill more enemies, you will also get this resource here called Amrita. Amrita is what you use to level up. You can level up at the shrines. And then the only other thing I guess I'd add on to that, as you're leveling up at the shrines, just pay attention to what weapon you're using and what stat. So, for example, I've spec'd pretty hard into the heart, and that's because when I started off, I was using katana, and I was using the dual blade weapons right there, okay? So just pay attention to what weapon you're using and pick the appropriate stat to spec into. So my character is not a strength character, for example, so maybe you like more of a heavy build. If you're a heavy, you prefer the heavy axe or the odachi, for example, or maybe fists, whatever it is, right? Pick your kind of chosen weapon and make sure you're speccing into that stat. But you will want to kind of just take a look and see. You probably will need a bit of stamina for your encumbrance weight, just to make sure that you're able to carry enough gear. And again, there's so much to talk about, right? So many things I could mention here. That's maybe the last thing that we'll end off on here. As you equip more gear and stuff like that, just pay attention to your equipment weight, which is denoted in this section at the top here. You can see I'm at 37.7%. It is green, which means there's actually one below green, which is blue, which is even better, but that means I can move around quicker. Okay? That's essentially what that means. If I were to, let's see if I could show you an example of this. Oh yeah, so you can see it goes from green to blue in this example. That actually just makes me lighter. And now my character actually dodges around quite a bit quicker, okay? And then the reverse is true. It'll go up to yellow. And then I think red or something is the last one. I'm not even actually sure what the heaviest weight is. If you're really super heavyweight, sure, you might not take a lot of damage, but you won't be able to move around like basically at all. So if you're wondering why your character's slow or whatever, just pay attention to this. You don't need to be in the blue. That's what I'd say. It might feel like you want to be in the blue. If you want to be like, crazy fast or whatever, then go for blue. With both of my character builds, I basically am staying here in the green. Okay. Oh, and of course, well, let's back up here. So if we go again to our general start menu, go to equipment, just make sure you're always going into your weapons. you'll be just constantly picking up gear. So make sure you're always leveling up your gear. And I will just point out here in the bottom right-hand corner, if you're playing on controller, you can press RS to sort. You can sort by value, type, newest, attack, or a rarity or level. I usually sort by level. But I would say also attack is probably a reasonable way to sort as well. So in this instant here, actually, like, could I switch over my blades? Actually, I probably could equip these. I don't remember if I had this equipped for a reason. I could probably bump this up here. For my swords here, for example. Okay. So just make sure your O is going into your equipment, and you'll start picking up gear like right away. It's going to happen really, really quickly. I actually unequipped my weapon by accident there. And just make sure you're going, and again, I would say you don't have to go in here all the time, but especially early on, you're not going to start off with any gear. So make sure you're going in here regularly and just get some gear on. And it will also show you the level of the gear right here. And that gear level is just a good guide. Okay. You don't need to stress or, make it like you're constantly focusing on necessarily that you always have the best gear on at all times. Just like go in here regularly, make sure your level makes sense and for where you're at and everything. And actually one thing that's really nice about this version of Nioh is it literally tells you on the map here. So if you highlight different sections on the map, so if I'm looking here, this is where I am right now. Just something else to pay attention to. It will give you a recommended level. So look at the recommended level for the map, and you can actually use that as a guide for like, okay, well, which section should I go to next, right? Maybe I'll start here because this is level 6. Sorry, let me just, controller's being difficult here. So yeah, maybe I'll start off here because this is level 6. Then I'll go here to level 8. I'll clear this area. Then maybe I'll go kind of do a little bit of this because it's level 10. And so on and so on. You can see this is like 35, 36, right? But just kind of watch that. Watch the recommended level. And make sure you're just kind of going through your gear, making sure that's appropriate. So I think that's good enough to get you started. Like I say, if you do have specific questions, ask in the comments. Very happy to assist in your journey. I have not finished the game yet, but I'm pretty far in. I'm getting close-ish to the end, probably. Maybe we'll be moving into New Game Plus here relatively soon. I think I still have like one major kind of area to kind of do. And then if there's anything I missed here as well, if there's any other really, and I'm talking, again, this video is for the dumbest of the dumb here, people like myself. And the goal is really just to get you started playing the game and get you interested in it, and to tell you that you absolutely can do that. This game is not so absolutely convoluted and complex that you can't figure it out. It's actually a lot easier than it might first seem. But if there's any like really beginner level tips that you might have, please throw it in the comments, and yeah, happy to talk about it further. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.